Hey, good Friday evening to you guys. We made it to Friday. We did it. We got here. All of us as a team, led by yours truly, Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. And I hope everybody is having an absolutely fantastic Friday. Of course, it is the last weekend before Turkey Day, before Thanksgiving. Of course, that's next Thursday. That will impact the show because I'm going to be comatose from eating all that turkey, getting all that tryptophan and whatnot going. So we'll talk about that next week. But speaking of delays and speaking of things that trip us up, well, right there, you see Tonka Todd. You're listening in. One of our Gamma World players is going to miss because of work tonight. And you know him as Broham over on the Discord. Tonka Todd, he's one of the biggest cheerleaders this channel has got outside of yours truly, is not feeling well tonight. He's feeling kind of poorly. He is 25% of the fun that we have on Gamma World night. And, you know, I said it was a game time decision, you know, like Coach Nick Saban says, well, that's a game time decision. And, you know, here we are at the opening, and I think we're probably gonna just ease on back. We're just gonna relax a little bit on this Friday evening and maybe worry a little less about live streaming Gamma World and more just we're gonna talk Deities and Demigods. We're gonna have a pretty good time, and we're hoping for Todd's recovery and rejoining us and having fun in the wastelands. I would rather do it with a full house. We're not some big budget production, you know, where I have tons of actors and lighting and, you know, a computer game based on us and animation and voice actors and our own published campaigns and shit like that. We are friends getting together to play Gamma World for the entertainment of other friends. That is what I do. That is how I do it. And because we're real people and we're not on scripts and we're not on contracts or anything like that, when one of us is down, we pump the brakes. We focus on something else while those folks that can't make it for whatever reason get back up on their feet. And that's how we're rolling, okay? And that's how we always roll. So you want to play the video game based on my live stream? Download the Lilith mod for Doom 2. You'll see what I mean. But anyway, hello, Damien. Hello, Dungeon Minister. Where have you been? Speaking of absent friends, it's good to see you. I don't know. People ask me all the time, like, hey, are you ever going to publish your Castle Greyhawk? It's 99% of it's up here. So, no. I don't have extensive notes. I have some notes. I have Gygaxian notes. And let me tell you something, guys. I have seen with these two eyes, I don't just mean like a quick furtive glance, like somebody got a picture at a convention of Gary's notes. But no, I have seen Gary's notes, and trust me, that is how I write my adventures now. All right. The stuff, the details, the pile of broken potsherds in the corner, the table that's flipped up on its side, the water barrels with a board nailed between them that's being used as a workbench. All that descriptive stuff is up here. You know, 10 orcs, short sword, 7 hit points each. 10 gold in lockbox and corner, poison needle trap. That's the stuff that I have written down, and it's not very publishable like that. But, you know, to paraphrase Robert Downey Jr., that's where Gary did it, and it's worked out pretty good so far. Google Doc has a very comprehensive speech-to-text feature. Just saying. Okay. You should download Doom 2. You should play Doom 2, Dungeon Minister. I mean, you're fighting the forces of hell. That's right up your alley. That's like in your wheelhouse. That's your comfort zone. But anyhow, I mean, I don't, you know, like, I don't improvise, right? I mean, I do improvise, but it's not totally improvisational. Like, I have no idea. I have no plan. And I know Kyle and I talk a lot about, yeah, it's too much like work, right? Kyle and I talk about, you know, the dice tell a story and just go with the dice, and the dice are always right and everything. I have an outline, okay? I have an outline, and I plan my adventures accordingly. But I let the fleshing out just kind of take me where it's gonna. I mean, I've talked about this before. My Mary Sue character in the Monday night game is literally just a thought experiment, but I have no like huge overarching story for how a demon that became lawful good, you know, like all these massive plans. I just said, let's introduce this to the party and see what happens. They've done like 65, 70%, 71.5% of the heavy lifting for me. And it's awesome, and I love it. So that's, you know, that's kind of how I do. All right, that's how I do. So yeah, I don't think. See, there you go. Dungeon Minister's got it right. I'm going to put that up there. I don't think you would ever get like the official Delver's Dungeon live stream campaign for Gamma. You certainly wouldn't get it for Gamma World. Gamma World is even sketchier than the AD&D game. But for the AD&D game, honestly, I mean, well, first of all, it's set in Greyhawk, and Wizards of the Coast will never, ever license that out. Ever. And with what I'm seeing coming with what they're producing with Dragonlance, I honestly, if Wizards of the Coast forgets that Greyhawk ever existed and they never publish anything with it ever again, I am completely okay with that. I am completely and entirely okay with that. So, but the point is, any published campaign you guys got for me, like that you could buy, like I could just put it up for you to download, right, for free. But anything you could buy from me, I would have to like completely denude of all Greyhawk notes. You know, it would be Castle Delve next to, you know, Brown Raven. So don't look for a published scenario setting. It's kind of pulling there. Don't look for a published scenario setting from me anytime soon for any of the campaigns I run on the show. First of all, I just think it would be hella boring for people, and second of all, I'd have to make it not Greyhawk. I'd have to make it not AD&D. There's stuff coming. I'm working on things. There's things in the pipeline, you will be able to get from me, both as patron supporters and just buy from me. Tracy Lesh and I have something in the works that's going to rock your world, and I think everybody's going to like that a lot. So Dungeon Minister asks, while I have you essentially to myself, what is the rule on open source? If I put together a source book of invented monsters using blocks from BECMI and an option for 5e, you're fine. You have to stick that odious OGL thing in the back, and you have to stay away from trademark monsters. So no beholders. I think mind flayers you can't use. If you go to d20srd.org, you can get the last OGL, which brings us to an interesting point. And yes, we're going to talk about Deities and Demigods. I think we've got enough headspace that we're probably going to be able to do a lot of Deities and Demigods tonight. But so rumor control tells us that Wizards of the Coast is not opening any future D&D to OGL development. So you can't, like right now you can publish stuff that you can say is 5e compatible, but D&D 6e, look, Wizards, bless your pointy little heads, but can I tell you something? D&D Next or 1D&D get stuffed, okay? It's 6th edition. Just call it that. Bunch of self-important prats. Anyway, they will not... Hello, Tommy Die. They will not open that up for development. So you won't be able to publish like your stuff that you're talking about, Dungeon Minister, like if you make it available for Blueholm, which, by the way, is a very clever clone. And I'm going to see if I can grab this real quick. Yes. I got this from my buddy Arthur. This is... Let me see if this will work. I don't know if the tabletop cam is going to behave itself. Probably not. No, it did not. But this is a more fleshed out J. Eric Holmes basic D&D clone. Like you could publish stuff that's compatible with this, because I don't know if there's a BECMI clone out there, but you could publish it for this and for 5th edition, but you won't be able to do it for Ashnaz Derbataluk edition D&D. So essentially, right now, using the OGL, you can publish stuff for 5e, you can publish stuff for Swords and Wizardry, you can publish stuff for Osric, you can publish stuff for Castles and Crusades, for Gold and Glory, which I think is a 2e clone, yada, yada, yada. And then I think they will not support it. They will not support an open 6th edition. Now, with that said, thanks to the OGL and thanks to the work done on Osric by friends of mine, you can turn around and create your own clone of one D&D. You have to tweak a few things, and then you can publish under that. You can call it One Fantasy or Fantasy One or something like that. And effectively, you've cloned one D&D. You've got a retro clone, as it were, of one D&D, and then you can publish stuff that way. But you won't be able to put the D&D stamp on it, right? You can't say it's compatible with D&D, but if you release a 1 D&D clone that is effectively 6th edition and say it's compatible with that, you have bypassed them. You have cut them out and bypassed them. Where's that confounded bridge? Love that little part of that song. So slinky and funky. Anyone interested? Let's see. Rock on, Tonka Todd. You relax tonight, brother. I'll get y'all back to the wasteland next Friday. Fear not. We're all full of pie and turkey and gravy and green bean casserole. Anyone interested in what we're putting together will be playing OSR anyhow. Then there you go. Know your target audience. The book Tracy and I are putting together, the project we're working on, I don't expect anyone with 3rd edition onward sensibilities to give a damn about it. Or Pathfinder, for that matter. Okay? It's for people who love 2nd edition AD&D back. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. So, the real brain in this matter, and I got to get the guy back on the show again. Let me tell you what. If you've missed any of our streams where we've had Ty Beard on, he is a legal thug. The guy knows the law. He works for a law firm in Texas, and well, I mean, he's an attorney. He's also a tabletop war game designer, a fistful of toes, which not toes, the phalanges on the end of your feet, but rather tube-launched, optically guided, wire-controlled. They're the anti-tank missiles like we're sending Ukraine. But he also wrote A Fistful of Bolters, which is a 40K alternative system. But Ty has read the OGL, and he actually created a plain English OGL that he read on the show. But we, with 1 D&D coming and shutting out, maybe it's a good time. You guys tell me in the chat if you'd like me to reach out to Ty and see if I can get him on the show and talk to us about what Wizards is doing legally to throttle creative types yet again. And if that's something you guys would like, we can do it. Making it who we're making it for. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? You got to know your target audience. Look, if I need 5W20 to put in my Volkswagen and I go down to Advanced Auto Parts and I buy it, that's all well and good. Across the street from the auto parts store in another shopping center, there is a speed parts and performance tuning place, okay? They are for a completely different cat than me. Now, they might have that motor oil there. But odds are, if I go in, it's nitrous kits, it's custom hydraulics kits, custom wheels, tuning parts. They know their target market, and it ain't me. Okay, I got a couple of toasters. I got a couple of mall boxes. So they know their target audience. I'm not pimping my ride. As much fun as the old Volkswagen from like 2000-ish, 2002-ish. Unpimp my auto. I hate Volkswagens. The one Volkswagen that I now own is the most finicky, fiddly piece of garbage, and I am afraid every day I drive it that it's just going to quit, that it's just going to stop functioning, which is why I need to get my Saturn, which is an incredibly reliable car, fixed and working again. So, but that's another talk. The point is, The point is, the guys at the speed shop have an audience and they market to that audience. They don't worry about having Saturn View parts in stock. They don't worry about having just normal humdrum run-of-the-mill parts there. They have a market and they target it with what I'm going to be working on with Tracy, with what Dungeon Minister is talking about publishing. We have audiences that we are targeting specific areas of the RPG market. Now, I won't get rich, but let me tell you guys something. Let me let you in on a little clue. One group of people made a lot of money very quickly with role-playing games. The original employees at TSR. And a lot is relative. Okay? That's it. Nowadays, if you want to make $1 million doing role-playing game writing in the role-playing game industry, invest $2 million. And in about a year, you'll have $1 million left. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I love it. I'm doing this because I want somebody to buy a brand new book that looks like those and fits with those. And hopefully people will see it and they'll say, hey, that's pretty cool. I want to put that with my AD&D books. And trust me, guys, I will make it as non-generic as possible. Putting wheelie bars on my bug. If it was a bug, I could work on it. It's not. It's a Tiguan. But anyway, you make more playing it a la Mercer. I wouldn't know. I mean, hey. Yeah, I think very little of that. But inside, as far as them making money, it's a good grift, okay? I can't argue with that. Yeah, get one of the fiberglass kits, just pull the body off the Tiguan and throw a fiberglass body on it. But anyway, that's all the business talk I've got. Although I will say, now I didn't see this on Twitter because, of course, Twitter collapsed and shut down completely. You know, they closed the doors, they put a big chain on them, sold all the office furniture last night. That's what I was told would happen. So I clearly didn't have this conversation on Twitter today. But I saw something and it kind of caught me. It caught me off guard. A big off guard catch was they were talking about somebody posted it, and none of the browsers on the studio PC here will connect to Twitter. I log in and I try my password, and it's like something went wrong. Okay. And that's all of the web browsers. Am I going to have to set up a VPN connection to my desktop and window it in so I can show it to you guys? But this just showed up in my Twitter feed because I put hashtags on there, TTRPG, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And somebody opined that player characters shouldn't die without the permission of the player running them. Oh, I know it's still up, VG. It was put forward that players' characters shouldn't die unless they tell the game master, yes, it's okay. So what's the praxis at a table that does that? The huge ancient red dragon lands and breathes for 500 points of damage. The power creep in modern D&D is just kind of blows my mind. So yeah, Todd knows what I'm talking about. He breathes for 500 points of damage. Everybody give me a dex save or a con save. Oh, you all failed? Oh, but you said you didn't want your characters to die. Well, I guess you don't take the damage. What? Why would you play a game like that? You know, I was talking about Doom earlier. Like, you know, there's a ton of cheat codes. And I've noticed this. You know, people are sharing like screenshots from Screen Rant and from Polygon and all these articles where people talk about like I know it's a cliche to say this about current year D&D, but it's so video game like. It is very video game like. It's like, well, you can't, you know, you can't beat this module, but here's, you know, unless you read these 10 things, like 10 things to beat this module, like cheat codes for a D&D game, guys. Why would you ever? Like, how is that enjoyable? I don't know. Characters don't take damage from the dragon, but their coffee is now just the right temperature. Yeah. Their PC dies, who will run the coffee shop. So you guys get it. You guys get it, right? We're a little echo chambery in here, but it's okay. It's okay. So what are we going to do with our evening, folks? Well, we're going to talk more about Deities and Demigods. We're going to get back into Deities and Demigods, because if you remember last night, we got up to the appendices of Deities and Demigods. We've gone through, we talked about the forbidden lawsuit causing satanic banned Melnibonean and Cthulhu mythos, and then all the mundane ones, and we looked at those various things. But there's still some meat on the bone here. There's still some meat on the bone. So we're going to look at the appendices here. We're going to jump back into this. Share screen, share screen, share screen, share screen. And one more. And there we go. So this is Appendix 1, the known planes of existence. There exists an infinite number of parallel universes and planes of existence in the fantastic multiverse of advanced Dungeons and Dragons. All of these worlds coexist, but how real each is depends entirely on the development of each campaign referee. So, for DMs who might feel trapped in a, you got to eat the everything bagel every time, everything everywhere all at once, you can shut out as many of the planes as you want. I mean, you can kind of keep them in your hip pocket and just say, oh, well, my character is going to go to the seven heavens where lawful good Norse deities are. Doesn't exist. You don't know how to get there. So that's addressing how real each is depends entirely on the development of each campaign referee. I don't have the Melnibonéan mythos touching my Greyhawk cosmology. Sorry. Same with the Lovecraftian stuff. Am I to say that the party may never cross into a universe where those characters or myths exist? No, of course not. But you don't have to drink from the fire hose. It has adjustments. The parallel universes are not shown, and their existence might not be actual. The inner planes, the prime material plane. The prime material plane is at the center of the inner planes. It houses the universe and all of its parallels. It is the plane of Terra and your campaign in all likelihood. The prime material is bounded on or permeated by all of the inner planes and the astral plane. The prime material plane is made up of the 4 elements plus positive and negative energy. Sounds like something you would be discussing while you had In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida on and were using the cover of the album for sorting. The positive material plane is a place of energy and light, the place which is the source of much that is vital and active, the power supply for good. Any creature from the prime material that tried to enter the positive material plane, e.g. from the ethereal plane, would probably be instantly consumed by the powerful energies there. Fly right through a star or bounce too close to a supernova. Oh, that's interesting, Robert. I have not read that one. That's probably where Gary and Jim picked it up, yeah? The negative material plane. It's a place of antimatter and negative force. The source of power for the undead, the energy area from which evil grows. No one is certain what types of creatures may exist on the negative or positive material plane. Any creature from the prime material plane will probably be completely drained of all life and energy. Now, I know, particularly from Volcano God, I get it. But I know Jim can be kind of wordy, but honestly, that's all we need about those places. That's good seed material for a dungeon master. Okay, that is good seed material for a dungeon master. And I don't. Let me just address the ethereal elephant in the room, if I may. I don't think Manual of the Plains, Wilderness Survival Guide, and Dungeoneer Survival Guide are good 1E AD&D books. I brought them up to Gary once and asked what he thought about them. And he said, they're not first edition books. They're second edition books in all but name only. And I really kind of feel that. They're ancillary. They're just at the tail end. They're the appendix of first edition AD&D. And I think they stray really far from this. And they do stuff like, okay, you can survive there for this many hours and, you know, your hit points increase by this much and your stats increase by this much. But if you stay too long, you'll just burst apart in a shower of golden energy. Basically, you'll burn up if you stay in the positive material and then in the negative material. And it goes on and on about that. The book tried to do too much. This is your Manual of the Planes, these appendices. So let's look at the inner planes, kind of, you know, we'll zoom out here a little bit. Now, I'm not sure who did this art. It's not credited. Maybe this is a Dave S. LaForce thing. We don't know. So we have the elemental planes and the parallel elemental planes. Yes, they are a 1E thing. We have the prime material plane with its galaxies, its megastructures, and whatnot. Now remember, the prime material plane isn't just the universe. It is the space in which all realities, mundane realities, exist. So it's our universe. It's the universe Greyhawk is in. It's the universe Tecumel is in. It is the universe that Twilight 2000 happened in. It's the universe of Star Wars. It's the universe of Star Trek. It's the universe of Warhammer 40K. It is all of those encompassed. So it's not just our universe. It is everything. Any place you can go, there it is. And then the ethereal plane is kind of the binding cloud around it. Is that signature just enlarged behind the planet? I don't know. That's, I will leave that to, that's a good observation. I've never noticed myself either way. Dave Ethereal. Yeah. All right, so we've got the elemental planes also. Let's talk about those a little bit. The planes of earth, wind, and fire, which occur in December, the 21st night of September. Sorry. The planes of air, earth, fire, and water surround the prime material plane. Figure 1 shows one way of visualizing their relationship to each other and the other inner planes. The elemental planes are represented by the band that surrounds the prime material planes. Don't be fooled by the apparent size of the planes. There are an infinite number of parallel prime material planes. That's what I was saying earlier. And each and every one of these are bounded by the elemental planes, so the elemental planes are themselves infinite in effect. Figure 2 shows one way of visualizing the elemental planes' relationship to each other. It is possible to actually physically move from one elemental plane to the other by moving through the para-elemental planes. So, in addition to our own multiverse, each elemental plane is it in effect its own infinite universe. Which, I mean, and each parallel elemental plane. So, how much water is on the elemental plane of water? Yes. Can I swim out of it? No. The elemental planes are the homes of many different kinds of elemental creatures, and some of them have the ability to travel to the prime material plane. There is probably more traffic between the prime material plane and the elemental planes than between any others. This is usually either direct travel through gates or summoning, or by way of the ethereal plane. There are also nexial points in distant, out-of-the-way places on the prime material plane that lead directly to the elemental planes. Now, how many of you guys have ever seen this, much less used it? Nexial points would most likely be found in the deepest ocean to the plane of water, high in the atmosphere to the plane of air, far underground to the plane of earth, or in an active volcano to the plane of fire. Temporary nexial points may also be established occasionally, such as an opening to the elemental plane of fire in the middle of a raging forest fire. Dungeon Minister, that one's up to you to answer. Bring it up at your next ecumenical conference and just kind of watch the blank expressions grow. Now, the parallel elemental planes are the lesser parallel, where the elemental planes meet are the lesser para-elemental. The plane of ice, where air and water meet, the plane of dust at the conjunction of air and fire, the plane of heat, where fire and earth converge, the plane of vapor at the meeting of earth and water. And I would guess we would say that the positive and negative material planes are also equally infinite in their own enclosed totality. So let's look at figure 2, and this will kind of give us a little bit So that kind of gives you an idea there. These planes are the home to many parallel elementals, and they can be reached in the same manner as the elemental planes can be reached. The elemental plane of dust exists exclusively on the floor of my studio. That much I can tell you. And it is infinite. Trust me, I've tried to vacuum out here. The ethereal plane. Now, this one, I feel like the ethereal plane is kind of misunderstood, in that some people tend to think that it's kind of its own separate thing. But the ethereal plane is almost like the Force. It penetrates us, it surrounds us, it binds the universe together. The ethereal plane surrounds, touches, and permeates all of the inner planes and the endless parallel worlds of the universe without being a part of them. The ethereal plane is basically insubstantial, and few real creatures actually live there, though there are rumors of floating islands of solid ether populated by exiles, which drift about the ethereal plane. Guys, if that doesn't fire your imagination, if you're not thinking immediately now, I want floating islands of solid ether full of exiles drifting about the ethereal plane, what are you even here for? That is gold. That is worth its weight in gold. To creatures on the ethereal plane, objects of the prime material plane or any of the inner planes appear as incorporeal phantoms. Ethereal creatures may pass through these phantoms with no difficulty, although a person being passed through might experience a chill down the spine. Ethereal beings or things are real to each other, however. Note that the ethereal plane does not extend to the outer planes, so it's not possible for creatures on those planes to go ethereal. Ethereal travel and combat are explained later. Dungeon Minister says, a neighboring parish just got a new priest whose kids are the age of my eldest and middle and play D&D. If I mentioned D&D in a clergy meeting, I probably get lots of knowing nods. Truly. You know, I like to believe that we're past the satanic panic, that it's now the moral panic from the moral busybodies about a naked breast in D&D artwork or you know, other horrific crimes against humanity. And yet occasionally it still pops up. People talk about, you know, and yes, this is 20 years ago, but then in like the early mid 2000s, you still had people in having a Christian freak out over D&D when I thought it was like buried. Like when rap and heavy metal got really popular, I figured parents just started ignoring D&D, but I guess not. Well, people in general. Well, a lot of DMs need that little bit of boost, a little bit of help. I mean, it's fascinating to me. And you certainly don't have to use any of this, but some people do. The plane of shadow. It's the upside down, guys. It's the upside down. The plane of shadow coexists with the prime material plane, and it is a result of the interaction of that plane and the positive and negative material planes. The negative plane provides the darkness, and the positive plane the light. These meet at the prime material plane, which casts the shadow. Thus, the plane of shadow is a place of distorted and mutable shadow creatures of white, black, and all shades of gray. Guys, it's the upside down. 40 years prior to the fact. There's the upside down. Yakov Yakerson says, what will we obsess and panic over 100 years from now? Probably people who don't want to live in the pods and eat the bugs. Those will be the new outcasts. The outer planes, the astral plane, this plane radiates from the prime material to a non-space where endless vortices spiral to the prime material planes and to the outer planes as well. This plane can be used to travel to distant worlds, to parallel planes, or to the outer planes themselves. Note that the astral plane touches only the upper layer of each of the outer planes. That may be two. And the inner planes, it touches only the prime material. See figure 3. Astral travel and combat are explained later. The outer planes of alignment. This is a little more salient. These planes are the homes of the deities and the source of alignment, religious, philosophical, ethical ideals. Now, I feel like I really should have had this pulled up for you guys, but if you go all the way back to chainmail, not even original D&D, I'm talking back to 70, 71 chainmail. Guess what? That's where this wheel starts. It's a 4-axis graph. Neutrality in the middle, law and good, good and chaos, chaos and evil, evil and law. Even though they only had the 3 alignments. Baron Von Headbanger, good to see you. These planes are the homes. So figure 4 and figure 5 can be used to visualize this more clearly. Note that the alignment positions on the character alignment graph match up exactly with the outer planes of identical alignment. There are 9 basic alignments and 9 planes which correspond to those alignments. There are also 8 other planes between the 9 which represent borderline alignments. As figure 4 shows, alignment is a matter of degree rather than absolute definition. I don't agree with that, Jim. It sounds like moral relativism to me. Thus, a lawful evil character who tended towards neutral evil would probably end up in Gehenna rather than Hades or the 9 hells. The 17 outer planes are as follows. The 7 heavens of absolute lawful good, the twin paradises of lawful/neutral good, the layers of Elysium of neutral good, the best good, by the way. Neutral good is the best good, just as neutral evil is the worst evil. Let's see. The happy hunting grounds of chaotic neutral good, which I think is the most ridiculous name in the world, but there we go. The layers of Olympus of absolute chaotic good. The layers of Gladsheim of neutral/good chaotics. The layers of Limbo of neutral absolute chaos. The layers of Pandemonium of neutral/evil chaotics. The 666 layers of the abyss of absolute chaotic evil. The layers of Tartarus of neutral/chaotic evil. Hades' 3 glooms of absolute neutral evil. The furnaces of Gehenna of neutral/lawful evil. The 9 hells of absolute lawful evil. The nether layers of Acheron of neutral/evil law. Nirvana of neutral absolute law. The layers of Arcadia of neutral/good law. The plane of concordant opposition of true neutrals. And so we can take a look at this. There's our drawing. Let's zoom out a few steps here. This is like ordering a coffee at Starbucks. So there's the outer planes. And yes, that great long tail, there's your 666 planes at the abyss. Although it's only like 40. I counted the cubes once when I was a kid. Now, again, each of those planes is effectively infinite. So don't think, oh yeah, we can just take an elevator down to the next layer of the abyss. No, that's not how it works. You still have to travel magically to get from one to the next. As can be seen from figure 3, the 17 outer planes contact each other at their topmost layers. It is possible to move directly from the upper layer of one outer plane to an adjacent one, though it is not necessarily advisable or safe. Thus, a being could go from the topmost layer of the abyss to Pandemonium or Tartarus, and it is likewise possible to move from Hades to Tartarus, Gehenna, or the plane of concordant opposition. Ethereal travel and combat. A character can achieve the ethereal state, move to the ethereal plane, by various means, which include magic spells, magic items, magic ointment, oil of etherealness, or psionic discipline. It is possible to move to or about any of the inner planes which the ethereal plane permeates, and it is possible to move from plane to plane ethereally. To move on the ethereal plane, an entity has but to will movement for it to happen. If concentration upon movement lapses, progress immediately halts. You think yourself from place to place. Ethereal travel is tireless and rapid. Creatures in ethereal state need neither food, drink, rest, nor sleep. Ethereal creatures may move from plane to plane by moving from the shadow of one plane to the shadow of another. This may be accomplished by concentrating upon moving to the desired destination. This gets easier with practice as the being marks out a mental trail. Now, this is interesting because it's not talking about spells. It's just talking about willing yourself to do it, which I think is pretty fun. The trail through the ether. The first time a journey between 2 points is made, the DM should check for encounters 3 times. On the second journey, he or she should check twice, and all subsequent journeys between the 2 known points, only 1 check should be made. That's right. Wandering monsters. You can encounter wandering monsters out there in the plains. Ethereal encounters. Oh, I almost forgot. All movement and travel in the ethereal plane is subject to certain hazards. Some monsters are able to function partially in this plane, while some roam the plane freely. The worst hazard is the ether cyclone. All these dangers are detailed below. And then we have ethereal encounters. And it's 1 in 20, and then we consult via percentile dice if we have an encounter. So we'll go over there. And here's some more alignment chartness. Again, this goes all the way back to AD&D, so it's not like Jim is just making stuff up on the fly and throwing it at us. There's the planes of alignment, the steering wheel of alignment. But here's our critters that we can run into. Thank you, Volcano God. Here's to dudes making up a cosmology in the 70s while high AF. I don't know. We could ask Jim. I don't know what he'd say. So the ethereal encounter table. Hither there be monsters. We return to the Prime live stream plane this evening, Dungeon Minister. So the ethereal encounter table. Let's just roll up and see what we get, because we have many chances. Where's my... There it is. So let's see. Ethereal encounter table. We got an 84. So going down the list, Aerial Servant, Basilisk. Now, all of these can be found in the monster manual. Cockatrice, Quaddle, Djinn, Dragon Chromatic, Dragon Platinum. That's right. You can bump into Bahamut or Tiamat just as you're trying to make your way. Ifriti, all 4 of the elemental types. A Ghost, Gorgon, Groaning Spirit, Human Traveler, see character subtable. Intellect Devourer, Invisible Stalker, Kyren, Lemesu, Medusa, Nightmare, Salamander, Shedu, Phase Spider, Thought Eater. I rolled up a Thought Eater. Elder Titan, Lesser Titan, Major Titan, Windwalker, and Zorn. These creatures' perceptions extend into the astral and ethereal planes, as do their magical attack forms, but they don't actually travel therein. Their possible appearance applies only to situations which the encountering party is near to the prime material plane and could therefore possibly be affected by the creature's attack forms. The character subtable used for the dungeon random monster encounters in the Dungeon Master's Guide is used with the following modifications. Party sizes will only be 1 to 6. No limit to the number of characters of any one class. There will always be one cleric. If there are 2 or more in the party, there will be also be a minimum of 1 magic user. And then there's character levels, which in the case of like Bard, you roll 1d8 plus 10. I think that could be... I err on the idea that TSR wanted something similar, but legally distinct from the 9 realms of Norse mythology. I don't think anyone was going to sue them if they had just said, look, it's the 9 realms of Norse mythology. You just got to go with it. But they definitely wanted their own thing tonally, so they did that. I mean, that's what makes D&D great. I talked about this. I mentioned this on Twitter. D&D is at its best when it is not recursive back into itself. I might ruffle some feathers with this, but I'm just going to say this. Regardless of what I think of the writing, from a game standpoint, I think when TSR got in the business of publishing novels and then drawing from the novels they published and then funneling that back in to the influences of D&D, rather than having D&D's influences be an external mechanism. The Hobbit, Fafhrd and Grey Mouser, Conan, Lord of the Rings, 3 Hearts and 3 Lions, all of Appendix N. All right. When all that was pushed aside so that the fantasy that powered D&D would be Dragonlance, it would be all the house published settings, and not acknowledging that stuff, that's when it began to fail. That is when it began to fall apart. When they skipped out on the classics and just doubled back into recursion. And then we have this lovely, I think this is a Jeff D drawing here of some beings slugging it out in the astral or ethereal plane. No, I think that's, that's David S. LaForce. But I think, and Damien says this way TSR could put their own stamp on that. I think you're right. I mean, look at Games Workshop. Games Workshop could have kept on saying Eldar. They could have kept on saying Space Marine. They could have kept on saying Tau, T-A-U, which of course is a Greek letter and so on. But then so could anyone, right? So could anyone. So suddenly Space Marines were no longer Space Marines, but Adeptus Astartes. We can trademark that. We can throw a little apostrophe in Tau to make them to ow, and copyright that. So, it's probably TSR wanting to extirpate generic fantasy and say, oh no, if you're playing D&D, you have to be playing Forgotten Realms. Yeah, you can make your own stuff up, but Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, Birthright, Maztica, Karatur, Planescape, Dark Sun, Garbage Day. There you go. All of that had to be, just dumped in front of players, like build a wall so they can't just go over there and read a good fantasy novel and say, hey, I'm going to cobble my own stuff together. And I mean, people ignoring that is how we wind up. We wind up with stuff like non-lawful good paladins. You know, non-human, non-lawful good paladins. Paladins that don't even follow a deity. Well, my dark ASMR paladin of murder, he's a paladin. Well, first of all, no, he's not. And no. Anyway, that's just how I feel about that. The ether cyclone. So the twisting vortex of the ether cyclone is caused by fluctuations of the inner planes, and as such is only encountered on ethereal journeys between planes. There's a non-cumulative 5% chance per plane cross that a party will encounter the ether cyclone, and there are the effects. Goodbye, cruel world, Dungeon Minister. No, it's not, Cal. Humanocentrism for the win. So you roll a d20. It could move the party in a random direction at 120 feet per round, and if traveling is involved, the party is slowed as to incur one additional encounter check. 11 to 15 blows to a plane different than what the party is near or desires to travel to. The usual encounter checks must be made. Blows so as to cause the party to be lost for 5 to 60 days, and when no longer lost, the party will arrive at a different plane as determined by some random means. Storm Cyclone causes a party to be lost for 10 to 120, and unless saving throw is made, the party is blown to the astral plane. If a save is successful, then the party will still arrive at a randomly determined place touched by the ether. And as far as combat, though creatures on the inner planes are mere phantoms to creatures on the ethereal, such creatures will certainly be real to each other, and normal melee or spell casting is possible between ethereal beings. It is also possible to combat creatures who exist or function partially on the ethereal plane. Thus, those creatures whose attack forms extend to the ethereal can be attacked by ethereal creatures. It is only in these instances that spells can be cast from the ethereal to the prime material, and then they will only affect the creature with ethereal connections. Ethereal combat damage is actual damage. Now, I know a lot of you guys are not a big fan of the MCU. I get it. That's fine. Doctor Strange, the Doctor Strange movies, actually do a really hell of a good job, particularly the first one, in having ethereal combat going on between two characters, just beating the hell out of each other in a room where other people are present and it not having any effect on them whatsoever. So good job to the creators there. Astral travel and combat. Astral travel is possible by means including magic spells and psionic discipline. The astral plane touches only the endless prime material plane and the 17 first layers of the outer planes. So that's how you get from one to the other. All right, Dungeon Minister, go tell your story. Hopefully we'll see you back. Anyway, the astral plane does not touch any of the inner planes other than the prime material plane. It is possible to move about in or to any of the prime material universes or to the first layers of the outer planes by means of astral travel. See the clerical astral spell for pertinent details. As with ethereal travel, movement through the astral plane is speedy, and while there, the individual needs no food, drink, rest, or even sleep. Asleep in the astral plane. That would, like, Asleep in the Astral Plane, that is like the name of an album by a new age or prog band. I'm right. I am right. Beings in an astral state move from place to place simply by concentrating upon moving to the desired destinations. As with ethereal travel, this gets easier with practice as the astral traveler learns the way. The DM should check for encounters 3 times on the first journey between 2 points, twice on the second, and only once on any subsequent. So it's very like the ethereal plane. Encounters in the astral plane, it's a 1 in 20. And you can evade, and we have a chart. So what can you bump into on the astral plane? A lot of the similar stuff. Major and minor devils and demons going about their evil business. It is very like the ethereal plane. Few less monsters. What might we run into tonight? Let's see. 88. Shadow. Yada da 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 da. So this time it's actually a potentially beneficial, depending on our alignments. The psychic wind. Perhaps the most dangerous thing that can happen to an astral traveler is getting caught in the psychic wind. No one knows how or why the wind blows, but all fear its effects. The chance of a delayed or disrupted journey is a non-cumulative 5% per plane crossed, including alternate worlds of the prime material, or solar system traveled to if journeying across the prime material. The effects are shown below. One to 12 slows travel only. Incur a 1. Well, let's say that psychic wind kicks up. What's going to happen to us? Let's see. So that's a 7. Slows travel only. Incur 1 additional check for random encounter. So we're good. We're dust in the wind. 13 to 16 blows off course and the party's lost for 2 to 20 days at a time, then must return to starting place. 17 to 19 blows off course, so the party arrives at a different destination as determined by random method. Storm blows, and unless a saving throw versus magic is made, the silver cord is broken and the party is killed. If a save is successful, the party is lost for 4 to 40 days and must return to the starting place thereafter. If astral projection does not involve a silver cord attachment, then the party concerned is both lost and arrives at a different destination when struck by a psychic storm wind. And astral combat's a lot like ethereal combat. Most creatures can do no more than destroy the astral body, causing the silver cord to return to the material body and preventing further astral travel for a period of time. Very powerful beings, gods, demigods, etc., might be able to snap the silver cord, thus killing the astral and material bodies simultaneously. I could be wrong, but isn't there something about the swords that the Githzerai and Githyanki carry being able to sever those? So planar travel. The purpose of this section is to sum up all of the information that has been stated or implied about planar travel. First, travel amongst the inner planes. This is usually done by means of the ethereal planes as it permeates everything. It's not possible for creatures on the outer planes to go ethereal. As with all planar travel, it is also possible to pass directly from one plane to another by means of gates, thereby avoiding ethereal travel. A gate may be formed by a magic spell, such as Gate or Conjure Elemental, which forms a direct opening between the planes. A magic item, e.g. Amulet of the Planes, Well of Many Worlds, a cubic gate, or one of the various elemental summoning devices, or divine intervention. There are also direct nexial points connecting the prime material and elemental planes. We talked about those already. Travel to and from the outer planes is usually by a means of gates or via the astral plane. Note that the astral plane can only be entered from the prime material plane or one of the first layers of the 17 outer planes. If a being is gated to one of the outer planes, he comes complete with body and possessions, leaving no part of himself behind. However, if a being astrally projects and travels the astral plane to one of the outer planes, he leaves his material body behind on the prime material plane, connected to his essence by a silver cord. If his material body is destroyed or the silver cord snapped while he is in the astral plane, the being is permanently and irrevocably killed. If he moves to one of the outer planes from the astral plane, a body forms around him, but it is devoid of possessions. Both bodies are now connected by the silver cord, and if either body is destroyed, the being will continue on in the remaining body, returning instantly to the prime material if the outer plane body is killed. If the silver cord is snapped on the astral plane, the unoccupied body dies. That is correct. This is all from the Doctor Strange comic. Random determination of the planes. If it becomes necessary to choose a plane of existence at random, here you go. So let's see, where are we going to go on the inner planes, boys? Where are we going to go? We're getting bounced around tonight. Where do we end up? 18, ethereal plane. We're on the ethereal plane. How about the outer planes? Let's do a random check for the outer planes. 20, concordant opposition. Kill the headlights and put it in neutral. Now, that deals with the kind of ooky, odd stuff about traveling around. This is a little bit more roll your sleeves up and get to work on your cleric. So we have Appendix 2, Temple Trappings. The listing below gives a representative sample of typical items that might be found in a temple. Now, this is good for DMs, so you don't just have to have your temples. There's some pillars, there's a statue of a god, and the cleric is there. The DM should choose from the list to stock the temple, use random selection only to fill in details or in spur-of-the-moment situations. Note that some of the items below will not be applicable to certain religions, e.g. no flame pits for living sacrifices in a lawful good temple. And as you can see, it's pretty stock stuff. Altars, bells, braziers, candlesticks, chalice, chimes, choir area, cassocks, cloth altars, or altar cloth rather, columns, crypts, marker stones, flame pits, fonts, immersion chamber, gong, holy, unholy books and tomes, holy, unholy inscriptions, holy or unholy symbols, incense burners, lectern and dais, mosaics, offertory, paintings, pedal organ, pews, prayer wheels, pulpit, robes, sacrifice, sanctuary, shrine, stained glass statue, tapestry, thrones, vestry, vestments. Oh, and then we've got some other stuff. Holy or unholy weapons, non-magical, holy or unholy treasure, an idol or icon. Bed knobs and broomsticks, very good. Bell, book, and candle, also very good. Appendix 3, Clerical Quick Reference Charts. This listing has been provided for quick reference sheets when specific information about a cleric's religion is needed. Deities are arranged alphabetically within their pantheon, except that the most important deity is listed first. The information presented here is used as guidelines only. All clerics of one deity will not necessarily dress identically, for example. Rank within the temple is often differentiated by variations in color, lining, or stripes. Special sacrifices and holy days may be ordained at any time at the pleasure of the temple or its deity. Sphere of control. This refers to the item, condition, or element over which the deity exerts some measure of control, e.g. air, rain, the hunt, affairs of the heart, etc. Animal. The animal or animals listed here are the ones most commonly associated with the sacred, with or sacred to that deity. Clerics of this deity will often protect this type of animal. Some deities are not associated with an animal, however. Clerics, this describes whether the clerics of the deity can be male, female, or non-human. Raiment. Sorry, I threw an extra M in there. This is the prescribed form of adornment for a cleric of this deity. This may include robes, headdresses, hairstyles, tattoos, makeups, physical disfigurations, e.g. a notched ear, misshaping head, etc., ornaments or jewelry, footwear, etc. Colors associated with the deity, holy days, sacrifice, appropriation. Listed here are both the frequency and form of sacrifices expected of the worshippers. In addition, tithings and actual sacrifices should be made by a dutiful worshipper when grateful, returning from an adventure alive, for example. Repentant, begging a favor, removal of famine, etc., and so on. Actual items of sacrifice may include animals, monsters, humans or non-humans, food or crops, items of wealth, items of power, incenses and perfumes, services, etc. The way these items are offered to the deity may vary greatly, but include libation, cremation, vivisection, burial, immersion in holy water, casting into a pit, et al. Place of worship. This gives the most common locale or construction, whether natural or man-made, in which clerics of the deity gather, with or without a congregation, to worship that deity. And let's just take a look at some of them. We're not going to go through the whole thing, because honestly, that would take a really long time, but there's some we can look at. We'll zoom out a tad. So, for example, of the American Indian mythos, the raven, sphere of control is nature and creation. Animals, raven, male and female clerics. Head is bear. Body is loincloth. Colors are black. No specific holy day. So you can go down here to Babylonian myths and look at Marduk. Sphere of control, cities and weather. Animal, any bird. Raiment, head is bald. Body, gold badge. Colors, gold. And holy days are on the quarter moon. Oh, and I almost forgot. Sacrifice, appropriation, frequency, and form for Marduk is monthly, and it's just jewelry. It's just jewelry. We can look at, I don't know, Arwen, death god, male clerics only. Raiment is a helm and a kilt. Color is black. No specific holy days. Worshipped at death. Sacrifices are valuables. And place of worship is a grave, not a grove. Not a grove, but a grave. Now, what I kind of want to see here, let's see, lots of blood sacrifice to the Central American myths, as you might expect. Humans' hearts, burnt herbs, squirrels. Okay. Human hearts, Tlaloc, human babies. Nice. The Cthulhu myths. Oh, look at that. Cthulhu. Water. Head is bear. Male, females, and non-humans. No specific raiment. Colors are yellow, gray. Summer solstice. Sacrifices annually. Humans. In underwater caverns. Azathoth. Chaos. Blue olive. Winter solstice. Annual human sacrifices. Mountain caverns. Nothing good in the Cthulhu mythos, boys and girls. All their sacrifices are human. No human sacrifices in the Egyptians, Finnish myths. Some of them don't even require sacrifices at all. The hated Greek myths, nothing. Now, Kali requires human blood, but how much of that, does it require the death of the sacrificial person, or just, hey, everybody drip out a little bit in this chalice? The Japanese mythos are pretty all right like that. Ariok wants humans, blood and souls for my lord Ariok. Are there any deities that demand just dwarf or elf? Yes, I think in the non-human deities. Let's, you know what? That's a good one. Let's scroll down a little bit. Yeah, a lot of the Melnibonian want human sacrifices. Couple of the Nawan mythos, few of the Nawan mythos want human sacrifices. But if we look here, Kurtulmak, we know, of course, is the god of kobolds. I would deem that Kurtulmak, because it says enemies, I would deem that Kurtulmak probably wants gnomes at the very least. Loth wants enemies and riches. Probably neutral, lawful, and chaotic good elves. Maglubiet, the goblin god, its hearts would probably prefer, dwarf hearts. Sikola of the Salhagan wants enemies again. But I would say, just taking a shot in the dark, I would say that if you look at what, like Grumsh, let's go back up real quick. Let's look at Grumsh. Grumsh, everybody Grumsh. Grumsh wants blood sacrifices. I would say if that's elven or dwarven blood, he would probably be much happier with it, and all of it, right? Like they want you to drain those elves and dwarves completely. Just juice them, put them in the juicero. You better remember that thing, the juicero. I don't think even Loki wants human sacrifices. Yeah, no, just burnt offerings. And there's no there's no particularly outre sacrifices in the Sumerian mythos. So, unfortunately, I don't believe the Greyhawk gods have such a table, which is a shame. But if you're doing Greyhawk, you should definitely make up a table like this for your Greyhawk deities. And I think, I think, guys, that could be it. That could be Deities and Demigods in its entirety. Further reference. I always wanted to check these books out, but never did when I was a kid. I may someday. Some of them are relatively new compared to the publication of this, like the reference copy of Le Mort d'Arthur was from 1978. But there's also Samuel N. Kramer, Mythologies of the Ancient World. Frederick Webb Hodge, Handbook of the American Indians from 1965. The Age of Fable by Thomas Bulfinch from 70. Yeah, these are all bunched around fairly close to the time when this was published. Stormbringer, White Wolf, and Elric from Chaosium. Yeah, I can see where the ever twitchy Bloom brothers would regard that as an affront to TSR. Yet he also he does not mention the Call of Cthulhu RPG. Oh well. Index of proper names. A bold-faced indication indicates that the term is in a separate entry in this book. And then we go all through there. And that's it. That is it. That's Deities and Demigods in its entirety, guys. Did you enjoy that? Did you guys did you guys dig on that? I hope you guys had a good time going through that volume. That's kind of the first time we've ever done a deep dive on an entire book before. That was a lot. Lots of lore. Thank you, Tommy, Yakov, Baron, Tunka, TJ. So what's next? What's up next? Well, we'll have to see. We've been on deep dives through modules and rule books and everything else for a while. Maybe we'll take a break from D&D. Maybe we'll look at some other classic role-playing games. I'm glad we finished on a Friday, so I've got some time to think about what I'm going to do next. Again, I do apologize for the lack of Gamma World tonight. But hey, one of my team members is down. Another one's tied up at work. I want to give both players and audience a full experience. So we will be back with that next Friday. So, Monday, we'll be doing something new on Monday. But no, you do not. It is not your bad. Your health is not your fault. Okay? Don't even start that. Don't even start that, Todd. I forbid it. I am the maze controller. I have absolute authority over this realm. All right? You're fine. Don't apologize. If I didn't show up, if I didn't come here, if I just said, screw it, I'm going to just download and play Doom mods all night, that'd be one thing. But this is your health, my friend. So I will brook no apologies for something that is entirely out of your control. I mean, hey, you don't see you don't see other players popping in saying, sorry, I had to work, because I wouldn't want them to. I wouldn't want them to. Because stuff like that happens. But thank you all very much. Now, what we'll get into next week, we shall have to see. Everybody should have received or should be receiving their green devil face wall tiles. Don't tell me if you haven't. I know that sounds weird, but if come, say, next Wednesday you haven't gotten them, then tell me. Yes, do get well soon, Todd. But our next offer up, and I don't have a good image. Actually, I might have a good image. Let me see. So let me show you our next offer up of what we're going to be offering. Now, it's funny because this was never an icon to me, but I get it, right? People like it a lot. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do another screen share on this. It's in browser. I know a lot of people are real big on Warduke. So our next offer we're doing, because we didn't sell through on Owl Bears. I'm sorry, we didn't get the 10 reservation. We got 7 people wanted Owl Bear prints, but we did not get the full 10, which is a shame. But I know people are kind of keen on Warduke, so I have this up for offer. This is a trio of Warduke miniatures. And this is, let me see, hang on a second. I'm actually going to do this real quick so I can kind of move around, pan around it a little bit. So it's got sports stuff in it. There we go. And can I? Yep. So what we have here. Yeah, I am too, TJ. I'm sorry, bud. I can always go back to it, but right now we're doing the Warduke offering. This is 3 poses of Warduke, the evil fighter. This is $30. It's 3 miniatures, 3 separate poses of Warduke, and it's the same deal. 10 reservations. I get them, I print them, I send them to you. So start letting me know. You can ping me on the Discord. Yes, we have a Discord. Let me just, whoa. Stop sharing too much. Thank you, Tonka. So if you're interested, you can let me know via Discord, but the best way to do it, the best way to get a hold of me and let me know if you're interested in a set is to drop me a line. Drop me a line at bsylvie@gmail.com. And you can put Warduke miniature print order in the subject. Give me your number of sets you want and your mailing address. You can order more than one. You could buy all 10 yourself. Just say, here's $300. I want all 10 of them. 30 miniatures, just give them to me. You can do that. You can buy 2 sets. You can buy more than one. I won't split sets up. But if you want a set, the trio of Warduke minis, do that. Shoot me an email right there to bsylvie@gmail.com. Put in the subject Warduke Miniatures or Warduke Miniatures Order or something like that. And then in the body, the number of sets, your actual name. Don't tell me what your Discord name is or the name you use over in the chat, and your mailing address. And then when or if I get 10 orders, I will do the print run, and then I will charge you. Then I will tell you how much you owe me, and I will ship them out to you. So that is for the trio of Warduke miniatures, if that is what you're interested in, if that is your jam. So, speaking of stuff and things, I do want to take a minute because I always like to pause here. And I want to thank the people. Now, if you've noticed along the banner down here, the crab's holding it up for you, and he's been patient all night holding up the banner. You can support the show on Patreon. Subscribe star, you can drop us a tip on PayPal, or you can buy me a coffee. And there are some folks who've elected to do just that, and it is this time of night that I want to take a moment to thank those people. So let me extend a very special Delver's Dungeon thank you, because you literally help keep the lights on around here, folks. To Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien247, James F. Keck, William Smith, Dungeon Minister, Manny Wall, Mark Corey, Kevin Wood, Todd Sharp, Carnivore Farmer, Rob, Jeremy Rule, Boganora, Mikey Mank, Sky Hernstrom, Pete Sullivan, the DM's Council, and Baron Von Headbanger. I've had it burned into my brain. I can almost do it without looking at the crawl now. Almost. But anyway, guys, it's been a lot of fun going through Deities and Demigods. I really, really appreciate it. Your comments and cheering me on. We'll see what we're going to bring to the table on Monday. We will take a look at something interesting on Monday, and it'll definitely be classic role-playing game related, by gum. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I understand some of you might travel. Some of you might just be like, no, heading out Sunday, not coming back till Saturday, whatever. I get it. So to those of you folks who might not be here next week, happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe, wonderful time. And if you're gonna ride out with us through the week, rather, that's awesome too. And we'll see you during the week. Don't forget, in 2023, which is just a few weeks away, by the way. I'm not talking about it's a huge, long time. It's coming really fast. We will be doing Tabletop Triumphs. Tales of Tabletop Triumph. That is coming. And that's all positive talk. It's all positive D&D gaming stories. Kind of gave you guys a sample about when I met a lovely person at the gaming table, and she flipped expectations over. And I'll recount that tale for the inaugural episode of Tales of Tabletop Triumph when we kick that show off at the first of the year. But until then, everyone, I love you all. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for going on the long haul through Deities and Demigods. Get yourselves a copy. And yes, get yourselves an unexpurgated copy. They're out there. You can find them. And then you could send them, I don't know, print on demand and have yourself an unexpurgated physical copy. Just think about that. So until then, guys, have an absolutely fabulous weekend. And I'll see you Monday night. I love you all. Peace.